Hello and welcome to another game commentary from the FIDE Grand Prix Beijing 2013. This time a game between Alexander Morozevich against Boris Gelfand, former World Chess Challenger. And okay, the game went on with d4, knight f6, and they heat for the Grünfeld defense, which Gelfand I think added just recently since his World Championship match against Vichy Anand. And Morozevich followed the so-called Russian system at the castled e4. The type of position is slightly different than the usual King's Indian, Grünfeld Indian. And the line Boris chose, knight e6, plans to play and support c5. And if white replies with d5, to play a6 to try to use the center to attack white's center and to create some weaknesses there. The bishop e2, c5, d5, e6. Now Morozevich chose a rather practical move, I think. Bishop taking bishop g5. Always note this pin might always be a bit ugly and a bit unpleasant. I mean, h6 always weakens this square there, and one idea of white players is always to play h5, h4, h5, and so on. So this pin is rather unpleasant. Okay, taking e is quite normal. Also the main line, knight takes d5, and okay, that was also played e takes d5, but I think knight takes d5 is slightly better, and bishop e6. Sometimes if both players want to agree a draw early on, avoiding the Sofia rule is playing queen a5 check, bishop d2, queen d8, bishop g5, and queen a5 with the repetition of moves. It's one way to go if you just want a draw, but otherwise I would say don't play Greenfield Indian if you want to play a draw. Okay, bishop e6 is the most ambitious try, and now two moves are regularly played on castle and rook d1. Rook d1 always, in a way, sets a trap of taking on f6 and some tactical problems here. Let's say, for instance, after knight takes f6, if he replies with bishop takes, just rook takes. Okay, queen's gone, so he has to retake. And now rook takes f8 check. And the king takes. Just bishop h6 probably. If I don't know, rook takes f8, just bishop takes c5, and white remains a piece up. But even after the more precise queen takes f6 here, bishop takes f6. I think bishop takes c4, and now bishop takes not bishop takes g7 because okay, let's say king takes g7. Okay, this just loses a piece. But if bishop takes e2, takes bishop d6, it would be about equal. So I think after bishop, so this bishop takes c4 is the most important one. After bishop takes f6, bishop takes e6, bishop takes e6, and white can probably try to play against weak pawns there by means of e5, bishop g7, maybe followed by castle, and so on. Or immediately here, rook d2, first protect the b2 pawn, then play b3, and later on to play against this weak c5 pawn. Might have been one idea. And bishop d5 was played in the game Lizzie against Gabrielian, Yekaterinburg 2013. But Gelfand's choice, I think, is maybe even slightly stronger. Queen a5 check. And I think most natural reply would have been bishop d2, but okay, rook d2 is interesting, but this pin here, black can, in some lines, black can exploit this, as we will see. Okay. Well, there was one game I think played in this line, which is a game begins between Brunsteins and Domancic and ICCF as a correspondence game in 2007. But black's novelty with bishop takes d5, I guess, is yeah, it's interesting, but I don't know. I think taking on the knight is a bit more logical. E takes d5, rook e8. Okay, getting a pin there, and definitely not d6 because knight e4 now exploits the pin, against the rook, but bishop takes f6, bishop takes f6, and finally castling. And if we assess the position, we can see that white has either a strong or a weak passed pawn here, which black would probably try to block somehow. You can try to besiege this pawn here by means of maybe knight c7, later on if he's blocked, rook e to d8, rook d7, and queen d8. Try to put everything against this pawn here. And okay, white also has to be concerned with these pawns here because they're always slightly weak. The knight cannot go because the rook hangs otherwise, so no, it's very complex and very, very sharp. Rook a to d8, d6, knight b4, queen f8, because okay, knight f4 attacks a2, but queen f4 sidesteps. First of all, it attacks the bishop, king g7 comes, and h4. Another interesting idea, because the passed pawn alone, you know, it shouldn't be too dangerous, but he should try to create a second weakness and second play. And in that case with h4, here's the fact that there aren't that many defenders for the king. There's only one, which is right now the bishop, and the dark squares are always quite weak. So he tries to play h4, h5, and then taking and maybe even penetrate with the knight here on g5. So that's one idea of white. And during the game, I thought, why didn't he play knight d5? For instance, if takes, rook takes, and h5, maybe the most critical line with h5. Otherwise, black should be a bit better. But after h5, I wasn't quite sure how to assess the position. I mean, white certainly has some play for it, but you know, if he doesn't get anything, these two pawns will probably fall, and once they fall, he will have a material deficit, and with a material deficit, it's never easy to play. And I don't know how to time control, so I don't remember it. But if the time pressure comes additional to it, it might be very, very difficult to hold the game. So Boris Gelfand played h5, and now white's main aim was to simply to use the fact that black doesn't have many defenders for his king, and especially this pawn chain, you know, with the dark squares, with the weakened dark squares, is a bit vulnerable. And he had a very interesting choice of simply directly pressuring it and trying to attack the opponent's king, which is rather lonely here. And after bishop c4, I guess Boris Gelfand just missed Morozevich's idea. Because of knight c6, he just took an f7, and Boris was rather surprised, I guess. For instance, king takes f7, d7, rook f8, only move, knight g5, now two moves left, king g7, knight d6, or king g8, knight d6 anyway. Is very, very sharp. I mean, an exchange is an exchange. The pawn on d7 might be very strong, but it's very difficult to assess the position in general, and I would say it wasn't certainly an easy task. And especially, I don't know, black might have some compensation for it, but it's very difficult to analyze and to assess such a complex position as this one. So I guess that's why Boris said, okay, no, let the pawn go. Let's try to defend the position without being crushed in an unclear position, maybe. So go for rook f8, but this actually loses by force because bishop takes g7 is possible, g6 is possible, grabbing the second pawn. And even the idea of bishop e5, bishop f4, as he probably intended, doesn't work because white can spin a mating net and try to finish the black king off, and for instance in style even queen g5, bishop f4, queen takes h4, and now winning the exchange doesn't work because queen h7, king f6 is lost, after which Boris Gelfand resigned, and this move just finishes him off. I mean, rook d1, for instance. I'm just going to retake the piece. Rook takes d6, not to protect the bishop here. Doesn't work because of the bishop h5. there are many threats here, very unpleasant threats, and yeah, something maybe queen g6 check followed by queen g7 check, something like this might be possible. And for example, knight takes d2, rook takes d2, this just loses by force, rook e1, and then finally the king is caught in a mating net. The rook controls the whole e-file. The queen does a very good job controlling all the other squares, and a single check would be sufficient to finish the black king off. So even g4, g5 might have been a finisher, but queen g6 or queen f7 check if the rook moves, yeah, just finishes the game. And that's why probably Gelfand resigned, as he saw, okay, the king is in such danger that he probably cannot even survive anymore. And after king f6, okay, he capitulated. Well, okay, let's briefly check it again. So, okay, this bishop g5 idea is maybe not the most critical, but I think the way Boris handled it was okay until maybe here. Well, maybe I'm not sure if bishop g7 is a bit more precise. I'm not quite sure. But okay, h4 and h5. I'm not sure. I mean, knight e5 looks maybe a bit stronger. Simply avoiding the complication which arose in the game. But okay, h5, bishop c4, knight c6, probably the best even. And bishop takes f7, and I guess he would have to end the complications after king takes f7. Otherwise, his position was lost anyway. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed this small recap here of the FIDE Grand Prix in Beijing between Morozevich and Gelfand. Morozevich managed to in a way outplay Gelfand in a very nice attacking style. Gelfand blundered, and Morozevich converted his advantage to continue to attack with a material advantage in the end later on, because the pieces black took were not black couldn't defend and protect them anymore. So if white just collects everything, he will easily win the game in the long run. Okay, knight f6, this Grünfeld type of positions. I guess we can see many more games here in the Grünfeld by Boris Gelfand, so I try to stay tuned and to analyze the next games as well. Let's see if he finds an improvement, if some of his opponents tries to repeat this line. It would be very interesting. Okay, thank you for watching, and please subscribe to my channel, leave a comment there, and we see us next time.